Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I think I'm ready to look at this side of the engine for a while. We've been spending so much time over there on that other side. It's time to get busy over here, a little bit of change of scenery, right? So next up is going to be this oil manifold. Kind of one of the more peculiar design aspects of a D3400. They routed a good majority of their oil plumbing on the outside of the engine, which I guess, you know, could be good, could be bad, I don't know. Now, I'm probably going to have to go through this manifold because these are notorious for these soldered joints cracking and leaking. Already found one, this back port back here. I don't know if the GoPro is going to show it, but it looks like we've got a pretty good crack going all the way around that joint right there. Couple other minor spots along the way that also have kind of raised a little bit of a red flag after a visual inspection, but I'm going to have to find a way to set up to do a leak check on this, test this piece out, and really know what I've got here. So, get it on the bench. I think I have a plan. Alright, this is my solution. I have this flat bar at the back. I have 1/8 inch cork beneath every one of the fittings up against the bar. A little piece of heavy-duty gasket material underneath the clamping foot of the clamp, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those set up for all the main lubrication ports into the engine. I have this quick grip clamp down here, again with 1/8 inch cork beneath the pads, front and back. That should seal off the bottom of this piece. So, tell you what guys, Rube Goldberg would be proud. Just took the factory oil fittings out and put a 1/8 inch pipe plug right there, adapted up to a low pressure gauge with a Schrader valve here. I can just take a tire inflator and pop some air into that thing, and over at the compressor I have it regulated down to, you know, like less than 5 psi, maybe about 10 coming out of there. So with all those safeguards, I shouldn't be overpressuring this thing at all, not enough to ruin it or cause any more damage. So all right, so I'm a little suspicious of this spot right here. I don't know if that's going to be a leak. The way I have found the cracking around this back one, I certainly suspect that that's going to be giving me problems. So got some leak detector here. Just get those two areas. We'll start with those two suspect areas. Get them good and covered. Pop a little bit of air in there, see what happens. Oh yeah, no question. No question at all, we've got a leak right back there. That would run oil all over the place. See, it bleeds down pretty quick. Let's take a look at this other one. Catch it in the light. I don't see any leakage coming out of there. That one back there is definitely bad though. So, I think I'm going to check all the rest of these while I'm at it. Alright, so I did end up finding some leaks up in here. That's kind of what I figured. It looked a little funny. Everything else down here was really, really good. This piece is good. Problem is, well, I hit this one with the torch just to see what was going to happen, and sure enough, it's like I thought. It opened right up. All kinds of black, oily stuff came out. You're never going to get that soldered well without getting that off and cleaning both the pipe and the inside of this. We know we have to take this one off already, so to get this piece off, we also have to sweat that piece off, and it's a shame because that one's really good. But you know, I've been down this road before. In the long run, it's less work overall just to bite the bullet, disassemble everything that needs to be disassembled, clean it all very well, and then solder it all and make it right. Everything down on this end is really good up to here. So this is the first one that's bad. So next step is to get these 3 pieces sweated off of the pipe. Alright, with everything off, I'm going to tin all the surfaces that have to be soldered. And tinning is basically just really cleaning the surface. I'm wiping some flux on there now, some paste flux. It's kind of a acid etch, if you will. And here it sizzle, melts with the heat. That's going to kind of clean the surface, prep it. Now I'll heat the piece enough to start getting a coating of solder in there. This is just kind of prepping the surface. This is why they call it tinning. It's going to start turning silver in there. Once I can see it starting to flow, wipe the excess away. That leaves you with a kind of a prepped surface. It's nice and shiny in there, silver. I got a lot more left to go in here to get it all clean and tinned all around, but basically you're just making sure that the surface is clean enough and ready to take the solder. Make sure the solder is going to adhere very well. Alright, everything is tinned, including the tube. I've got flux applied on all the joint surfaces again, and probably the best fixture I have to solder this back together is 5J2115's old engine block, because these fit these bolts so closely. I've pretty much got to assemble this on here, and it's going to be probably the very best alignment fixture I could ever ask for, because if it fits this, it'll fit 1113. It's a little bit of a trick keeping everything lined up. Here we go. We're just about home now. Now Senior's going to try his hand at soldering. The Squatch gets a little overzealous with the heat. Alright, everything's cooled down, so now we take this off and have a look at it. So we're prepping up for test number 2. We have a lot more potential leak points to look at because we had to have that extra fitting off. So we'll just see what things look like here. It's holding pressure better than it did before. It's going to bleed down a little bit because I'm not positive on my seals back here with that cork. Just checking everything over really close here. So far so good. Top it up again. We'll just keep going over and over this thing. Just trying to get everything a really good look from all sides, all angles. I'm not seeing any leaks at all anymore. Got stuff down here too. We'll just recheck the ones that are still factory, because if something decided to leak, this is definitely the time to do something about it. I think we're good. Alright, after a thorough cleaning outside and inside, inside's very critical on this since it's supplying oil to all the major parts of the engine, I have this ready to bolt back on. I have the fittings put back in for the lines. This one goes up to the oil pressure gauge, this one goes up to the valve train. All of the gaskets here I made. Really no sense in trying to buy these, they're simple enough to pop out. This one's for the front. The other 4 are for the other 4 junction blocks that feed the critical areas of the engine. Gasket made for this block off plate at the front. We have these cap nuts here, 5 of them, that will retain this to the engine block. Each of those has a copper washer beneath it. I just buy these from the hardware store or from the parts store. There's nothing special about them. No need to go to CAT 1/2-inch ID on those. Base gasket made. Now, you can see I only have one through hole in that, even though there are 2 holes in this block. This is the only one that you have to worry about on the back side where this gasket is intended to go. Back here, that's the only corresponding hole that feeds into the block. That one does not, so you can ignore that one for the back side. Reason being, oil will come from the oil pump through this hole right here. It'll channel over into the oil filter base, go out to the oil cooler. When it comes back from the oil cooler, it gets filtered, and then the filtered oil gets pushed into this hole, and it goes up that T and on into the engine. So that's why we have one less hole in the gasket than what there appears to be in that base. Okay, all gaskets in place. So we're ready to install the manifold. Lots of studs to align here. Like I said before, this is a pretty close fit on all of these studs that go down the block where all these little junction pieces are. That's why when you take these apart and solder them, you have to get this stuff back together exactly where it was. Otherwise it won't fit. This one's fitting well. New copper sealing washers go on next. You can see all the potential leak points on this external oil manifold setup that can just be eliminated if you would just drill passages inside the block for this, like is typically done. But CAT did it this way on several different engine models for, well, years to close to decades, matter of fact. Not only do you have all the gaskets that go from the blocks, junction blocks to the engine block, you have all these seals under all these cap nuts. You have the gaskets down here for the oil filter base. And at one point or another, every one of those are eventually going to leak, given enough time and enough operating hours. But this stuff isn't really difficult to work on, so I guess that's a plus we have going for us. If something leaks, you just you address it. And now I'm going to put the same hardware on these studs down here that I used when I did the solder repair on this, because the oil filter is what goes on the front of this and applies the pressure to this lower block. I don't have the oil filter ready yet, but I do want to maintain even pressure on this whole thing and allow that gasket to start taking a set. So that one goes there. What I'm going to do is just, like I said, put all of these pieces back on down here that I had for holding everything in alignment during the soldering process. We'll just cinch these down evenly. Try to keep the stress equal. We'll start from the center and work out. Certainly don't want to crack any of these joints now. Get all the tension that I need applied to the lower block down here. And we'll finish off with this little block off plate at the front here. And before I put that on, I should note that is a passage that goes right into the crankcase right there. But on this early version of D2 on 5G1113, they just blocked that off with this little plate. Not going to go into the reasons why right now, because in one of the future videos we're going to come back to this piece right here, but just make note of it right now and keep it in mind that this little piece I'm putting on here is going to come into play in one of the future videos very soon. All right, so we got that piece done. Definitely had to fix this leak back here. That was bad, and I'm glad I took the time to take this block off in order to fix this joint, because that was going to be the next horrendous leak anyway. Have to address all these things while you're into it. This is definitely the time. And we're going to keep on moving right along with this side of the engine. The next couple pieces that go on over here kind of have some cool factor to them. At least I think they do, and I've kind of been anticipating getting into them, kind of been looking forward to it. They're kind of some early, more of that first gen tech stuff that I call it, that you don't usually see on D2s. And well, I just hope to see you back for that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please tune in again.